Welcome to Doobies and Movies. Believe it's the 29th. Doobies and Movies. With today, Joel is joining me, and we are talking about Disenchanted. Disenchanted. I was gonna call it Disenchantment. Disenchantment.
I am speaking of Disenchanted, though. That is how I would describe my feeling towards this show.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a bit. I think we are a bit disenchanted with it, but yeah, Matt Groening's follow-up to Simpsons and Futurama, with a lot of the voice actors from Futurama still in it. But yeah, it's just obviously not as good as those shows, but it's not all terrible. And we're going to go into the third part and basically our thoughts on it. So when Disenchanted, I keep calling it Disenchanted, when Disenchantment first promoted itself, so before it came out, I remember watching a trailer and thinking it looked really sick, but I had this idea that she was going on some mad adventure, and then when I watched the show, she doesn't go on an adventure, she like leaves, meets Elfo and comes back, and like nothing happened. And I remember being disappointed from the fact that the trailer showed promise, because it looked like a bit like Simpsons in another world or something, which obviously has potential. And then I was also just expecting some level of quality from Matt Groening kind of finally coming back and making a show for Netflix that could maybe be a bit more, I don't know, adult or something, but still have his signature style. And I guess if you're comparing it to like newer Simpsons and even the Futurama revival, it is quite a similar kind of humor, but compared to the classic stuff, it's just not a candle on it. And they really try and do quite Simpsons and Futurama like jokes quite a lot. And it often just does feel like they're not quite landing it. But what did you think of the season anyway?
No, I think all of that's pretty correct, to be honest. It's just like I you said, there's so much potential there, you know. Like this kind of felt like the obvious thing to do in a way. It's like, you know, he's done The Simpsons, Normal American Family, done The Future. Now he's, you know, doing the fantasy thing. Great. And I mean, it's just like I don't know. There's something like about the world that feels a bit too small or something. I don't know. It's like, and there's a lot of, but yeah, you would think, given the premise, that they just could have done a lot more with it, I think. And if it was, even how funny it is, you know, like it doesn't necessarily need to be as funny as original Futurama or Simpsons, I guess, if there was like real plot, because that's what this has that they didn't have, right? This is kind of what they were almost trying to do with this new, you know, Netflix streaming era of TV, make something that has a bit more of a plot. And it's just so half-assed the way they do it. It's like, yeah, there's some kind of general plot going through, but basically at the end of each season, they're back to the same point. There's not really a huge amount of growth or change in the characters over the seasons. Even as much as like Futurama, that actually kind of did have some plot going through it in quite a clever way. I don't know. And again, like the real issue I have with it is the characters, to be honest. Like, because it does make me laugh. Like, there are points, especially at the beginning of the season, like I am laughing. Some of the jokes don't land, some of them are a bit cringe, but for the most part, I am laughing. The thing that I think is really problematic is the characters, to be honest. I just don't find myself liking any of them. I just don't find myself actually rooting for any of the characters in the way that you did for, like, even like in Futurama, like Bender's an asshole, but he's sweet at the end of the day, you know? You do like him at the end of the day. You do see this like human side to him, I guess. And I don't know, I just don't really get that with any of the characters. They just seem like they're kind of just assholes, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll try and answer that in a few categories. So when it comes to the humor, Like you say, it is funny. It does make me laugh, but there's so many jokes constantly that the ratio of jokes landing and not landing still isn't very good. Even if I still laugh a few times each episode, they're giving you so many jokes. It's all constantly ironic, and it's so constantly ironic that you're right. The characters aren't able to flourish because everything gets played for a joke. It's kind of like that old
Yeah.
sitcom style, like characters almost flip-flopping their wishes and motives constantly just to fit the
Mm.
punchline.
No, you're right, and I feel like that affects like the plot as well, because it's like, you know, like all the kingdoms and all the land, like nothing's like grand, everything's like a joke, everything's kind of a bit shit, you know, like
Yeah,
the army's a bit shit, like the other kingdoms are all a bit shit, and it's like in something like that, you kind of want some epicness, you kind of want some big fantasy aspect to it, even if, you know, you have that like satirical swing to it as well, you know.
no, I agree. I think that's definitely a thing. When the army's shit and stuff, they play it all for jokes and she wins a battle by throwing the beer kegs out. It's like a big castle would surely have like catapults before it would throw beer kegs out, and all of these
Exactly.
things that are just
I
played for
want to see some
jokes.
fights, you know. I want to see some like
Yeah,
have that in as well, and still.
and if they want to do like Matt Groening pitched it as Simpsons meets Game of Thrones, well, if you actually want to sell that, then you actually have to have some kind of sick action on some level. I think that yeah,
And your plot as well. Some like actual.
yeah, the plot drags. There's no real hook, I think, is the main issue. There's no place that you really care or grab into with the plot. Even though the world has potential for a good plot, it's not there. The characters, like you say, are a big problem. I think that I like Elfo and think he's funny, but most of the characters, especially that demon Lucy, I just think is really terribly written. And Lucy's just like the whole show could exist without him, and nothing would be changed.
And
It
he's
just
like
would
one of
have
the main
less bad
characters.
jokes in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I just think he's so unsympathizable. He's just a fucking asshole. Like again,
yeah,
I compare him to Bender, who's like such a prick to Fry. Like he does horrible things to Fry. But at the end of the day, he's sweet and he loves him and they're friends, you know? And he has these lovely, touching moments. And I just think that makes it. If it wasn't for that, like no one would like Bender as a character. It's
well, I
that
do think there is that
human
real
moment.
repetition of Futurama and Simpsons character tropes. I mean, like if you're comparing Lucy to Bender, you can also easily compare Elfo to Fry and then Bean to
Right.
Bart. Bean is completely Bart Simpson ripoff to me, like, and again, the similar comparison with Lucy and Bender, but obviously Bart doesn't quite do the bad things Bender does, but Bart still does questionable things, and you like him because he resembles a rebellious kid, because he's sweet, he has a nice relationship with Marge. Do you know what I mean? There's all of these elements to
That's it,
Bart's character
exactly.
that make him a real kid and someone that you can relate to. Bean has none of that. She just, like you say, coming off like a bit of a dick. I think that Lucy saying Bender has the whole idea that he is first off a robot, so his emotional, the fact how you can play with his emotions ends up having a broader, which I
Maybe
guess you do with a
kind
demon,
of
but
Lucy as well, because he's a demon. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
they do have that too. But again, like you say, you have episodes where Bender and Fry's friendship is really sweet, and Bender is or he falls in love with a robot, or he does this, or but there's just episodes where Bender is real.
And even his jealousy, the fact that he's mean comes from such a jealous place, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, like with Flexo and
It's
stuff.
this possessive love, but it is love, you know? And like,
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think, but most shows, in its defense, most shows wouldn't have to live up to that, and they wouldn't have to constantly be like compared to what are two
but
of possibly the
let's
classic
compare it again
greatest
to like
shows ever.
Family or something, which again, like I don't, you know, like we were talking about the other day, like I don't think it's like an incredible show necessarily, but even the characters, like, and I have realized this now. I started watching the fourth season the other day. And I'm like, I actually care about pretty like all the characters in the family, really. Like I do, there are these sweet sides, and I find myself like actually relating to the characters and caring and sort of wanting them to succeed. I just don't get that at all with Disenchantment. You know, and Elfo's sweet and funny. Like I do like Elfo. You're right. He's definitely the best one, and he's funny. Like Elfo really makes me laugh quite a lot. But even still, I don't know. He's like yeah, I'm still. He's not quite enough of like a real character, I guess, for me. And he's definitely the best one.
Yeah, he just makes me laugh a bit more. I mean, if you're doing if you, if you're doing comparison with F is for Family, for example, I still think that that's almost a bit harsh on F is for Family because I've just gone through it all now, and that is a little bit of a deeper, more intellectual product. So
It
I think
is.
it's a little bit harder to compare that. I think obviously so are Simpsons and Futurama, but I do feel F is for Family is really trying to make points um,
Totally.
about men and women, but mostly kind of men in America and being victims of abuse and working class lives, and that's the reason why they are abusive. And there's a lot of quite deep things going on in F is for Family that I like. It's unfair to then put that in comparison with because it's not trying to do that at all, and it doesn't have to try and do that.
Sure. I get it.
But at the same time, Futurama wasn't really trying to do anything like that, and Futurama ended up being one of the greatest shows of all time. So it's almost like a balance issue, I guess. I mean, and it's hard to have a balance when the characters and plot aren't good anyway. So balancing elements is hard when the things you're balancing aren't that strong. But there is a real balance issue because they make all these jokes all the time that you never really get to come in, you know, like even in Futurama, which has a lot of jokes, like you connect with Fry from the first 5 minutes of the episode and he loses his whole life, but then you slowly unravel that.
In the first episode, to be honest, the first episode is great.
Yeah.
You instantly connect with Bender, Leela, and Fry.
So
I think that's it for me. I think that's what I would have enjoyed more with Disenchantment, to be honest. Like less of the jokes. It doesn't actually need to be that funny, to be honest. I think it would be better if they focused more on the Game of Thrones side, made it actually a bit more epic and a bit more cool and a bit more interesting, real characters, and still made it funny. I'm not saying they shouldn't. Obviously, it is a comedy, but yeah, it's just like all the random jokes. You don't need, especially when the jokes aren't even that funny half the time. You know?
Yeah, I agree. It feels really like I mean, and I'll be surprised that they're kind of out of touch considering how bad Simpsons has gotten and how the Futurama revival was hot and cold at best. I think
the last season was not good at Futurama.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean must be there's something that they're not in touch with, and like I don't know. It's not. I guess when you deep it, that's serious or not serious. Sorry, that's surprising that Matt Groening didn't have another one in the tank. But it still has 10 more episodes that Netflix had already renewed it for. Other than that, I don't think it's getting renewed again. No. I do anticipate these last 10 episodes that will get to be the last ones.
Yeah. I don't think that many people are watching it, to be honest. It doesn't feel like
it's not as many. Like when it debuted, I think it would have been one of the big hits because so many people would have tried it and then so many people would have given up on it.
Yeah.
But I do think it still ended up in their top 10 that weekend. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's not any good. It's just I don't see them giving it more time because it's just not got anything left to give really. And Netflix have become a bit more callous with cancelling better shows. So
no, you're right.
But
it's all right, and I'll always, because it's such a light, easy show, and I do like hearing the Futurama voices, and it does make me laugh a bit, and I like the whole fantasy world. It's a thing that, like, I'm always happy to give it a watch. I still did enjoy the season, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing. All of these things we've said, I still somewhat enjoyed that season. It just, when you reflect on what it could have been, as finally a more free platform for Matt Groening to do something a bit more serialized and less episodic. It is a real disappointment. But I want to praise the voice cast, like you say, the Futurama voices, hearing them again is just really nice. Billy West, Maurice LaMarche, just a few of the guys from Futurama. John DiMaggio,
Mm.
Tress MacNeille. I think she's the one who did Mom. Yeah, and then also Matt Berry and Noel Fielding, both English guys that do voices in it. Matt
Richard
Berry
Ayoade's
is
in it as well, isn't he?
sorry.
Richard Ayoade's in it as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he was that new character in the season, wasn't he? But Matt Berry's been in is the prince that's a pig.
Oh yeah, right, cool.
Yeah, honestly, his voice is the funniest thing. But then also Nat Faxon, who's a Hollywood writer and stuff, is Elfo, and I think he does a really good job as Elfo. And Abby Jacobson from Broad City does the main character of Bean. I also think she does quite a good job at it. I just think that the script is lacking.
Yeah, that's the word.
John DiMaggio pretty much just does Bender's voice again as well. Like
yeah, he does. Yeah, it's so similar. But he's like Adventure Time as well, isn't he?
Yeah, but he does that voice pretty much for Jake the dog as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good voice though. It's a good voice.
No, he's done a lot of stuff. He's like probably like he's one of those really often working voice actors. But yeah, no, like I say, we said it all really about Disenchantment. I'm still gonna watch the next season.
It's too easy not to.
Exactly. It's too easy. It's on Netflix. It's all there for you. It's 20 minutes long each episode, and it's very
little attention span to keep going through.
Yeah, and very inoffensive as well. Like it doesn't even take parts of you. It doesn't take parts of your emotion or your anxiety or anything that proper shows do. Like if you watch something quite hard hitting, you also have to be like, okay, I'll be prepared to give a certain amount of emotion and thought to this because it's quite like either gritty or traumatic, or do you know what I mean? Things happening on the screen. This has none of that at all. So it's really, it's really completely easy to just let it by you. But that's almost a criticism of it at the same time, right? Because you want shows to have some conscious effect on you. Like even a BoJack Horseman and other animated shows have that capacity.
It fucks you up completely.
But yeah. Regardless, we're still on the train, but it's not the most enjoyable train. What would you give that season 3 out of 10 then?
I don't know, 5 or a 6.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6.
Very average. I wanted to say I was like 5. I don't know. I kind of want to say 6 just because I do.
5's a bit mean, just because it has enough merit.
I just felt 5 was a bit mean. I was thinking 5, and I was like, no.
I think if it was a 5, we wouldn't still watch it.
Yeah, you're probably right. I was thinking 5 was a bit mean.
But you know, like, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me. It's there's a lot out at the moment. We're gonna be we're still gonna do ones on WandaVision, Attack on Titan, Promised Neverland. All gonna be discussed comprehensively.
Attack on Titan was so good.
Yeah, Attack on Titan's really good. We're just waiting to put the episode together. We might do one for 5, 6, 7 in the end. But yeah, they're still going. Attack on Titan, Promised Neverland, and WandaVision. There's nothing really else, I don't think, that big happening in terms of new material, at least to talk about. No, I think just those weekly kind of things. But obviously, if anything comes out that we can discuss, we shall. But keep smoking doobies, keep watching movies, check out the review page on adultreviews.co.uk and skip the minutes in adult rated. Like and subscribe to the page. Love and vibe every day. See you guys in 2 days to discuss the 3rd episode of WandaVision. I am very, very, very excited. Safe.
Yeah,